2 and 1. So welcome to this video. It's basically on central tendencies in statistics. Although, to be honest with you, most students will cover this in elementary school. So these topics are not extremely difficult. They're rather simpler to grasp. And the tendencies that I'll cover in this video are basically mean, which is just your simple average, median, mode, and mid-range. So those are going to be the 4 that I'll talk about. And I'll do it by example because I think it's nice and much easier to be able to grasp it instead of just knowing the word on its own. It's better to know and see it through how it's being done through some particular example. So you have here, so there's 20 data points. Now these data points are student final grades, so they're in percent, and then they're kind of scattered across. And what I want to do is I want to be able to calculate, so one by one. So I'll start with the mean, go to the median, go to the mode, then go to the mid-range, and then you'll be able to see how to calculate all of them. So with this particular data that I have, notice it is not being ordered in any way. So it is actually kind of useful, and you'll see that, for example, for the median and then even the mode. So it's nice to have them ordered. Most people utilize statistical data now through some kind of a spreadsheet. So some software that they use, like Excel, Google Spreadsheets, or there's many others, I guess, now. So I don't want to do that because I want to just show you kind of the introductory concept so you understand how they're calculated. And then if you want to go off and use software, you can do that. Okay, but then hopefully by then you will understand what they mean. So let's calculate our mean. And what our mean is, it is nothing else but simple average. So how do we calculate a simple average in math? Well, a simple average is just calculating the addition of all your data points in this case. So I'm going to go here and calculate all of these. So add them up together and so on, and you can do that for the rest. And after you add all of them up, you simply divide by the total number of data points that you have. So in this case, I have 20. You might have a different amount. So if I add them up, so I'm going to say, so this is 82 plus, I'm going to go down here, 74 plus 89 plus, and I'm going to put dot, dot, dot all the way down, all right, to 69, which is my last one. And as I said, once you add all of them up, you're going to divide by the total. So in this case, it is 20. And we're going to find out what that answer is shortly. Now, when you're doing addition, a very common symbol which is used. So addition just means sum. So the summation of all your data points. So instead of writing all of the data points, the statisticians typically will use a symbol, and that symbol is this summation symbol. So it's just a symbol which means sum all the values, so all the data points. In this case, I'm going to call all of them X. Okay, so here, these data points, so you can call them X. And you're going to add all of them up, and then you're going to divide by the number of data points that you have, which we call n. So in this case, it would have been 20. And this is not always fully out common because it will depend on the teacher or the professor and the instructor that you may have. But the mean, the simple mean, is typically designated with an X and then a line over it when it comes to statistics. So our mean here, X, which is bar, sometimes it's called that, is equal to this. So let me add all of these up, and we're going to get what the answer is. I'll do that in kind of speed up motion here. So my addition gives me the value of 1,491, and now divided by 20. So if I take my answer and then divide it by 20, I'm going to get what my average is. Now your average overall, okay, your teacher will tell you maybe what to round to, what not to round to. Maybe you're going to use significant figures, okay, to round if you have to do that, okay, based on your data points. So I'm going to keep it, let's say, to just 1 decimal place. All right. So if I keep this to 1 decimal place, it's going to be 74.6. So this is, approximately 74.6. All right. If you wanted to keep it to the 2 decimal places, you could. It would have been 5.5. So that means this is my mean. It's my simple average based on the data points. It's kind of the central, okay? So it is the center between all of the different data points that we had. Okay, so that's our mean. And people should be okay in calculating that particular mean for whatever data points that they have. Okay, the most annoying part is if you have a lot of them, to add all of them up, okay, it takes a bit of time. But that's where the software comes in, where you can just kind of do the additions and it will do that for you. So now, how does the mean differ from the median? So that is our second central tendency that we have. So this is a median. And how does this differ? Well, with the median, what we are looking for is we're trying to find what number is basically in the middle of all of your data points. Okay, so I'm going to just show you here and use a smaller example first. So for instance, if I had, okay, so these were my data points, 2, let's say 3, and I'm going to order them from largest to smallest. Okay, 6, 7, and 9. So you'll notice that I have 5 data points in here. So the median is the central data point. Okay, it is the one that splits your data, okay, into 2 equal halves. So because I have 5, my center is going to be a 6. And here, notice that I have 2 data points on the left and 2 data points on the right. And that number is called the median. It is in the middle. All right, so that's a median. Now, if you had, okay, so this case, this was an odd number of data points. If you have, so instead, if I had 2, let's say 3, let's put a 5 in there, 6, 7, and 9. So in this case, what I have is I have 6 data points, and that is an even number. When you have an even number, well, what you do is you will take, in this case, your 2 central ones, because you can't take a single one, so you take the 2 central ones. This one, again, it will split the data to the left and to the right with equal, and you will take the average of these 2. So for instance, your median is going to be 5 plus 6 divided by 2. So in this case, it would have been 11 over 2, which is just 5.5. And that number becomes your median. So that's what we have. Now, the symbol that we utilize for median, again, it will depend on your teachers and professors, but we typically like to put a little squiggly line over the x, and then we call that the median. So that's how you calculate a median. And it is very useful to have a median, and the data is being arranged from left to right, so from smallest to largest, because then you can very easily see which one is actually in the middle. So the key item is you do have to arrange them. You cannot pick, so if we took all of this data, we cannot just pick the middle one in here and then find out what that median is. We first have to rearrange these from smallest to largest, then we find the middle one, all right, to find the median. Now in our case, because we have 20 data points, we're going to find the 2 in the middle, and then we're going to find the average between them. So here, you do want to arrange these. So arrange from lowest, okay, to highest first. So that's the first thing. Now the position, if you want to know what the position actually is, so notice that here what we had, so this 6 was the position of this was the 3rd data point. Here the position was the third, and the fourth data point. So if you want to find what the position here is of the median, so the position is simply equal to, you take all your data points, you say plus 1, and you divide this by 2. And that will give you what the middle position is. So for instance, notice on the first one, so we had 5 data points, so 5 plus 1 is 6. 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that was indeed our third, arranged from smallest to largest. It was the third value that we took, third data point, and we called it the median. When you have an even number, so notice what will happen. So here you have 6 data points, so the position, which is 6 plus 1, is going to be 7, and 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. So what this is saying is that here you have to take, okay, the position, so you round down, which is the third position, and you round up, which is the fourth position. And you're going to have to take those 2 data points, and indeed that's what happened, third and fourth. You add them together and you divide by 2 and you get your median. So that's what we have. So let's try it for our example here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to arrange them from lowest to largest, and then we will find out our position, and then we'll find out our median. And I'm going to do arranging kind of in speed up motion. So we'll see you back shortly. All right, okay, so welcome back. So that took a little bit of time. So I've arranged them basically from lowest to largest. Now, so our position in here that we are trying to find is equal to, so it's going to be n plus 1 divided by 2. So that's going to be 20 plus 1 divided by 2, which is 21 divided by 2, and that is 10.5. So our position is going to be the 10th and the 11th data point. So we have to find those. Okay, so let's see which one that would be. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. All right, so that's going to be these 2 data points. And now if we want to find our median, that's a little squiggly line there. So that's going to be 74 plus 75 divided by 2. And if you take that, you will get, so 74.5 would have been our median. Now notice this median actually is relatively kind of close to our mean, 74.6. Is that always true? No. Okay, so it's not always true, and it will depend on the data that you actually have. So those are mean and median. Now, the next item, okay, in the central tendencies is the mode. So now what is the mode? So the word mode, okay, simply means that you take your data that repeats most often. Repeats most often. So sometimes when you take your data, you will find that the data doesn't repeat at all. All of them are just single valued, right? There isn't one which has repeats, 2 times, 3 times, or something like that. In those cases, right, so there is really no mode per se, because every single data point just repeats once. So if that happens, it's basically kind of multimodal that we say. Now, sometimes you will find that one data point, okay, is going to be repeating the most. And can that always happen? No, again, you might find that 2 data points are repeating exactly the same amount. So there's different names if you find that 2 data points are repeating, so for example, if you might find in your data point, okay, so I will give you an example here. So if you had, let's say 3, 5, okay, 6, 6, all right, 5 and 10. So notice that here, the ones that repeat the most, 5 repeats 2 times and 6 repeats 2 times. So this would be called bi, so bi means 2, so bimodal. So this is bimodal. Now, if you have, okay, something where it repeats, 3 times, so if we had a data set, and let's say this was 3, 3, say 5, 6, 6, 5, and 10. So now notice the 3 repeats twice, the 5 repeats twice, and the 6 repeats twice. So which one do you choose? So this would have been called trimodal. So tri for 3. Now technically, if you have and found that your modes are repeating, and it's more than bimodal, right, or trimodal, you're not going to say then quad, because quad means 4. Quad modal, I mean, you can, and you can continue on, but typically what you will find is if it repeats more than that, you'll just say multimodal, and the word multi means that it has multiple modes. Now in our data set, so if we wanted to find, so here if I go back to our data set, now they're arranged already, and it was actually kind of easy to see which one repeated the most. And the one that repeated the most for us, okay, was actually 74. So right here, notice that, okay, it repeated 3 times, and that's the highest amount. So ours basically just has a single mode. So in our example, okay, so our answer was 74, okay, for the mode, and it repeated 3 times. So that's the mode. So the mode is your data point that repeats the most. All right. Now the last one, okay, which is within these central tendencies, is referred to as mid-range. So now within this mid-range, so what you have, or sometimes maybe midpoint. So the midpoint, okay, depends on the range that you have. So the word range, you may remember. So the word range is where your data is actually falling, right? So where are all of your data points falling? So in our case, so what we had, if I drew this kind of, okay, line, you will find that you had, so I mean, from what I remember, our highest value was 100, right, in our data source. And actually the lowest one was 41. That's the beauty of having them from lowest to largest. So this right here is basically your range. So that is where all your data points are falling. So our data points are going to fall from 41 all the way down to 100. So our range within here is, okay, so between 100, okay, and 41. That's our range. And now when you say mid-range, what you're looking for is you're trying to find the point in the middle, all right, which splits this range basically into 2 halves. All right, so that will happen. Okay, so you're gonna have, okay, the lower one, so that, and then you're gonna have the higher one, and it splits it basically into 2 halves. And that point that does it, so this point right here, is called the mid-range or midpoint. And to find it is actually, it's not difficult. All you do is you take your highest value, so you take your highest value, you add your lowest value, and then you will divide by 2. And that's going to give you your mid-range. So for us, 100 plus 41 divided by 2. All right, so notice this is going to be 141 divided by 2, which is going to give us, so 70.5. That's going to be our mid-range or midpoint. And that's how you would find it. All right, so those are the 4 central tendencies. So I hope that you found these examples useful and it clarifies things for you. Okay, so thanks for watching and we'll see you in a future video. Bye, everybody.